In September of last year, quite out of the blue, as is often the case with cancer diagnosis, of course, Nikki Kaye was told she had breast cancer. The Auckland Central MP issued a statement describing the news as devastating, took leave from her ministerial duties and began receiving treatment. That was 4 months ago. And whilst she's been back in Wellington in the past few weeks, she's now fully returning to work. Earlier this afternoon, she joined us in the studio.
I feel really good actually, and I mean I'm walking 40 minutes a day and I'm eating better, so yeah, I feel good.
Did you know anything about breast cancer prior to getting it?
No, not really at all. So I've had a bit of a doctorate in breast cancer since it's all happened, and one of the things I've learnt is there's so many different types, and also just the number of people that have had it.
3,000 a year are diagnosed with it.
Yeah.
3,000 women, about 20 men, but about 3,000 women. And because I'm of an age, you know people who have gone through. I mean, I know people who've gone through it.
Yeah.
I know you. And
Yes.
then one moment you don't have it, and
Yeah.
then the next moment it's
Yeah.
the kind of entirety of everything you're dealing with.
That's right. And look, it is so prevalent. I've had so many women contact me in particular. Like, either they come up to me on the street or they've messaged me.
And what do they say?
I mean, most of them, it's usually quite emotional because I think it brings back feelings, and a lot of them have sort of said, you know, make sure you ease yourself back into it. That's one thing they say. Secondly, you know, make sure you surround yourself with the people that you love the most, because it is going to be, you know, a rough ride for a period. That was pretty early on, but yeah, it's been really humbling as well for people to have poured their heart out. Like, I've heard some incredible stories, and even though I was obviously sick, I had thousands of messages from people. I just made sure that I responded to those people that had, you know, or had cancer or were going through it, because they were so personal, the messages.
So the people who'd had cancer and had beaten it
Yes.
wanted to tell you you could do it, right?
That's right.
And that is, I mean, it sounds corny, but by God, that's helpful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because I think, you know, one of the things I've sort of said, I've had people who've literally been diagnosed a few weeks ago and they get in touch, is to be really positive, because I do think, you know, your mental well-being can have an impact on your health. It means that you end up, you know, being able to get up and go and do some physical exercise, and so it's been inspirational. Some of the women that have got in contact with me, it's really helped my journey.
Let's talk about your journey. You're back at work.
Yes.
I bumped into you on Ponsonby Road some months before your diagnosis, and you looked buggered, right?
Yes, yeah.
And I think I probably rudely said, God, you look buggered.
You may have, John.
I'm sorry. But the point is about this job is that the moment you get anywhere near cabinet, you are working 17-hour days, aren't you? And you're often doing it 7 days a week.
Look, it can be pretty huge hours, but the one thing I'd say is I have had a number of discussions with ministers, some of which I think are really organised, and actually they manage their time better than I probably did before. I also think I took on a range of other projects. I got a little bit involved in local body politics.
Yeah,
It didn't turn out so well, but I need to, and you know, one of the things I'm very determined to do is to say no. You know, I'm going to have both Associate Minister of Education, Minister for Youth, and being the MP for Auckland Central. That's enough.
That's enough.
Yeah, I don't need to take on more.
Are you getting better at saying no? Because you were notoriously poor at it, I suspect.
I am.
And the things also that go with being an electorate MP, going along and talking at schools and opening things and all that kind of stuff, are you pulling back on that for a little while?
Look, I'm just getting better at saying no to the stuff that, because I get a range of other invites to come across the country or just do other Auckland things, so I'm definitely doing that. The second thing I'm doing is, you know, I'm starting from a point which is I will have meal breaks. You know, I will actually do my 30 to 40 minutes exercise rather than there's my working day and then if I can have time, I'll do it. And it's a very different philosophy, but you know, I feel great as a result of just.
I'm not just saying this because it's polite and it almost seems required to say this to somebody who's been through cancer, and you never, I suspect, feel fully through it. But you look fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah.
And you look like somebody who was ready to be Minister of Education. I'm sorry to segue. That was a crap segue. But your name is on the portfolio. Hekia Parata is going. Bill English regards you very highly. You've been associate for 4 years? It's yours, isn't it? That portfolio.
Look, ultimately, it's up to the Prime Minister, and he hasn't made an announcement. I mean, look, I've been very very clear. Of course, it would be my dream. I'd love to have it. But until the PM, makes an announcement to say that's going to happen, then who knows what could happen. I mean, I've been in politics too long to know not to count your chickens before they hatch, because there's lots of situations that occur, the PM's resignation, the former PM's resignation, where, you don't predict it and then something else occurs. So,
we've been talking, I don't know, for 5 minutes now, and your eyes are sparkling most at the thought of potentially being the Minister of Education. Oh, you love politics, don't you? You love it. I mean, it's not only is it your career, it's a vocation for you. You love...
Well, I love helping people, and I did think very seriously about leaving, and I thought, well, I could do some charitable work, and then I thought, but then I would be the person that would be lobbying, probably, the minister.
Lobbying your former self.
That's right, and I thought, actually, to have the opportunity to come back in...
Really? Is that really what it's about?
What was that?
Helping people?
Absolutely. I mean, that is, I've when I was younger, I went over and worked in London. I earned more money than I earn now when I was contracting. So it's never been about money for me. It is about people, and I've just felt there is no greater job than politics to be able to make a significant difference. In terms of those big decisions. There are incredible jobs that are grassroots at a community level, but I feel I've worked really hard to get to this point.
And the interesting thing about being Education Minister is, if you become Education Minister, sorry, I don't want to count those chickens either, but let's pretend you do, or let's predict you do, you will be working with people who make a difference, thousands of people who make a difference, because we all remember those teachers who made us understand stuff.
But I've been working with them. I mean, that's one thing I'd say. And as Associate Minister, I mean, there's so many young people that I meet, and older people, for which they can say a major turning point in their life, they would have gone a different way if it wasn't for a teacher, if it wasn't for a principal. So, I mean, it is amazing. I say to people, I get paid to go and chat with a whole lot of young people, but also to spend time with some of our greatest educators in New Zealand. And most of them, they work long hours and they work really, really hard, and they love what they do. And that's why I'm back, because I love young people, and I love being involved in education. So I'm delighted that I've got this opportunity.
Okay, when you become Minister, if you become Minister, I'm being a bit cheeky, aren't I? When you become Minister, we'll get you in and we'll talk seriously about the portfolio and what you hope to achieve as Minister as opposed to Associate. But I want to go back about 2 minutes to the point where you said you considered not returning. How long did you seriously consider that for? I guess your health was a material factor, whether it was going to allow you to return. But once you knew you could, did you seriously think about not being a politician again? Yep.
I mean, I thought about a range. I thought about doing nothing for a while, but it's, I love this job, and I love the fact that every day I get to meet so many different people, and I really felt I've got unfinished business. I mean, I've worked for 8 years to be in Cabinet, to be at this point where I'm, whether a Minister for ACC or Minister of Civil Defence, making big decisions, and I felt that whether it's locally in terms of where Auckland is at, but also at a ministerial level, I've got a lot more to contribute. And so, maybe the easier road would have been to say, hey, I'll just have a few years off and then I'll go and do something in a lighter load or whatever. But I think I would have always regretted it. So it's great to be back.
So to people who are listening, if there are 3,000 people a year in New Zealand diagnosed with breast cancer, it stands to reason that there will have been people diagnosed with it today. What do you say to them?
Be strong, be positive, just surround yourself with people that you love. It's okay to cry. In fact, cry lots.
Did you?
Laugh lots, yes. Yeah, I mean, I was, most nights I would cry. I cried for weeks. Yeah, I still cry. Because there's a whole element of emotions and feelings that I went through. It's that whole mortality thing too. Looking at my nieces and nephews and thinking, will I see their 21st? Anyway. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, but it's you sort of you think that way.
I know. I
So,
mean, we're both
Yeah.
we're both about to come to the studio.
Yeah.
That's the big stuff. And what are you, 36?
Yes.
Yeah. And at 36, actually, I mean, of course, we all know that we're mortal, but at 36, you forget it.
You do feel pretty, like, I think that is something, and that I was always probably felt invincible. I don't feel invincible now. I, certainly every day I do think about life, and, I think I'm much more appreciate the small things. So
Appreciate the small things.
Yep.
So suddenly you notice.
Well, because it's, just had such a tough time, every day that's not being poked or prodded or, whatever, is a great day. So I often will be sitting with someone or a mate, like on my deck in Ponsonby, and saying, well, Jesus, the sun is shining, we're having a good laugh, that's awesome.
You just said Jesus on national radio.
No. Okay.
That's
all
good.
All good.
Suddenly none of that stuff matters anymore, right?
Yeah, totally.
One final question. You notice the small things and you sit on your deck in Ponsonby and think, wow, look at that cloud, or what are we, but does it make you more singular about the big things? I mean, Are you now more set on a career? Are you now thinking, hey?
I'm more focused, I think. Before, as you talked about, you might get 100 issues across your desk as a politician a week between the local stuff and ministerial. And I think I've had quite a bit of time to think about a few things that I'm pretty passionate about.
Am I looking at a future Prime Minister of New Zealand, voters being willing?
No, you're not. But I certainly want to play more of a leadership role in a few issues in the future. So,
why not PM? You're just being polite because Paul's only just got the job, and
no, I think. Look, some politicians. I think there are a lot of politicians that always think of themselves that way, but I think I've always prided myself on pushing other people forward if they're better, and I can say to you that I can see some people that I think would be better. I'm not saying if I stayed in politics long term that it would never ever be a possibility, but I think it's highly unlikely. I think I'm really proud of what I've achieved, and I'm really proud of my strengths and capabilities, but both at a family level, at the competency that we've got in the caucus at the moment, I can see layers of people coming through. I'm very keen to continue to contribute, but I don't see myself in that role. And I'm happy with that.
Nikki Kaye talking to us in the studio earlier this afternoon.